insulin resistance because it's the topic of the week. So insulin resistance contributes to what your aging looks like and how quickly you age in a number of ways. Inflammation is only one of them. Now, if you follow me at all, there's a lot of correlation between inflammation and insulin resistance. So hang out and let's dive down this road. Hey Janice, nice to see you again. So guys, I'm coming to you from Maryland. It's been a crazy day. Just know that there's been a leak. I have workers coming in and out. Hopefully, I've asked them to stay away for an hour, but if something weird happens, that's what it is. We're trying to get this leak fixed in this place. So I would love to know where you guys are at. I would love to know how many of you guys feel like you're struggling with any of those things up there, or maybe you just feel the effects of aging and you weren't ready. Like, I'm not ready for this. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. New Jersey, you're not that far from me, Janice. You know that we're like so close together. We're not that far, considering I came from Washington State, right? That was a long ways away. So yeah, I'm just above Baltimore. I'm about a half an hour from Pennsylvania. It's not really that far from you. Compared to where I was, compared to like being in Spokane, Washington, I felt like I was ages away from everybody. So yeah, we should get together one day. I'm gonna take the kids up and we're gonna go to one of the pumpkin patch corn maze things this weekend and hang out. So I'm also going to talk about that today, you guys. Hey Ro, I am doing this every other day fast. I need to learn more about this double that Janice is doing. I want to talk about fasting. I want to talk about how to get over some of this insulin resistance, how to reverse age, how to stop the aging process and stop all the sagging, wrinkling skin, how to stop all the joints that are hurting and all the pain that you're in all the time. Guys, it doesn't have to be this way. And we're struggling needlessly. And how many of you guys are not getting answers from your doctor, and yet you have a number of those issues? Because that was certainly me. Look, if you're anything like me, you feel like your body's falling apart, like life just, like I said, wasn't supposed to be this way. I was always active. I felt like I was fairly vibrant. I'm a 3-year-old at heart. I may be 59 on the outside, but I'm a 3-year-old at heart. But 2.5 years ago, I could not get up and do anything anymore. I'm the crazy grandma that would climb up in the slides in the playgrounds at McDonald's with the kids and go through all of that stuff. But 2 years ago, I couldn't do it anymore. I was in so much pain. Row reverse. I love that you've lost 10 pounds on that. I need to do some more checking. I know Jackie's an old bodybuilder, right? But some of the things I'm learning, why I want to check, I'm not discrediting anything she says, but I just want to double check. So yesterday, I did do some increased protein, but I tried to space it out about 4 hours apart. I had a 12-hour eating window. So I had 4 meals and I tried to really focus on protein and fats and keep the carbs down in those. I'm feeling better. It's crazy for somebody who never used to get tired at the right time. I feel like naturally at nighttime when it's time for me to lay down, I'm tired. When it's time for my body to get up, I'm awake and I'm ready to go, which is not how my life has been. That's all part of aging, and that's all part of this insulin resistance journey. So if you guys don't know, I'm going to go over a couple of things because aging hurts and it sucks. Like I was losing my hair, I was losing my eyesight, my teeth and gums wouldn't quit bleeding. I've lost 3 joints to osteo and rheumatoid arthritis that I don't have to go through anymore. You guys, this just changes everything. So anybody else experiencing those things? Like it's just painful to walk and life is like, I didn't want to get off the couch. I didn't want to go shopping. I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want anybody to know how much pain I was in. Anybody else feel like that? Because that was real and the doctors weren't helping. And I'm not saying that they're bad, they just didn't know how to help because nobody addressed this thing. Yeah, so Janice, that was you. So you're doing 2 meals, 12 to protein, good fat, and vegetables. Yep. So you're only eating 2 meals a day. I'll round back to that. I want to, yeah. Well, let's just talk about it. What the hell? I feel like sometimes I get stuck in a mold and I can't break out. But right. So Ro, what I did yesterday, because I'm doing the every other day fast that Jen, the nutritionist, is doing. I try. But so with the every other day fast, we're fasting for 36 hours. And why we're doing this is because during those hours, between 24 hours and 36, autophagy really builds up. Our gut starts to reset. So if you're having IBS, Crohn's, all of those things, your gut and the microbiome in your gut really starts to reset, and you start to get new stem cells in your gut. So now that's getting healthier, which helps with inflammation. And that also, we're having cellular turnover, as in we're getting rid of the dead skin cells. We're getting rid of the stuff that just needs to go anyway, that's at risk of causing cancers. And so it's just doing this whole cellular cleanup in your body. And that starts happening at hour 24 and keeps increasing until hour 36. So like the 16-8 fast has been great. And that's what I've done for a very long time. But before I go back into the 36-12, what I want you guys to understand is anything we do with our body gets used to it. So if you feel like you've been doing the 16-8 fast and it just isn't working for you anymore because you've been diligent and consistent, you might need to switch it up. You might need to shock your body a little and have your body go, yo, what's happening? What are we doing now? I got to change things a little. And it might just help you along the way. So I'm doing this because I damaged my liver so much when I was insulin resistant and didn't know it that I feel like I need to clean it up. So the 36-12 fast that I talk about yesterday was my fed day. So I woke up and I'm working on some recipes because of all of this learning that I'm doing. And so I had a mint chocolate chip shake in the morning, which was spinach and avocado, but the mint helps cover up the avocado taste. So it tastes what GLP-1s recommend as they address all of these. Sarah, that's a really great question. I don't recommend any of those because they're literally killing people and damaging them. Why would you do a GLP-1 when a GLP-1 is forcing your body to take insulin into cells that are resistant to it because you have too much of it in your system? It's forcing your body to already create more of a hormone that it's resistant to, and then you're losing more muscle mass. In order to get to that fat loss, you're losing a lot of muscle mass, and you're causing damage to liver and kidneys and heart and thyroid. I absolutely would never recommend any of those to anyone. Just wouldn't. So I do a simple system that's based on real food products. Let's deal with that. Janice, you're not getting in enough electrolytes and water if you're having constipation. You gotta stay. That's absolutely not what the science says. Well, look at here. So I've been able to have the pleasure to meet with this doctor who's a top metabolic scientist. And right in the very back of his book, he talks about those GLP-1 and how much damage they're doing. I was able to sit in with him. He's a university professor, by the way, and he absolutely, when he was asked, what would you tell someone when they're doing, if they're on a GLP-1, and he said, get them off of it as soon as possible, not sending out misinformation, the science. And if you look at the PDR talks about those damaging effects from those GLP-1s. So look at Sarah, if you're an advocate for GLP-1 agonists and that's how you want to have people lose weight, by not addressing the root cause, because that GLP-1 is not addressing the root cause, then please go do your own talk or talk to somebody who's about that. The people on this live are trying to find a healthier, more natural way to deal with this by addressing the root cause. So I have a number of people who were told to go on those who didn't go on those. I have a number of people who were put on those who've had thyroid issues, who've had the issues that I talked about as a direct result of those medications, and came back and said, they're not good. I'm going to do what you're doing. And so we do a tea in the morning, some intermittent fasting, and then I do a fiber before I eat, 10 minutes before I eat every time, because that's putting back what the system is missing so that we can naturally deal with our food, get our insulin levels down. Why are we passing our insulin levels up higher with GLP-1s or insulin injections when we already have too much of it? What sense does that make? And Dr. Bickman travels the nation educating physicians on this very thing. So as far as insulin injections in a type 2 diabetic, what Dr. Bickman has to say is, if you're giving a patient insulin, which is what GLP-1s are doing, forcing you to produce more insulin, you are causing them to get fatter quicker, to get sicker quicker, and you're killing them quicker. And he's had actual physicians come up to him in tears after he's presented the science and said, you mean I've been doing damage to my patients all along? And they've switched up what they're doing and understood that fiber and slowing down the insulin spike by slowing down the glucose spike by addressing the food, which is the root cause, is the key. So even Dr. Fung talks about the fact that you cannot address a dietary disorder, which was what insulin resistance and diabetes and weight gain is, with a medication. Okay? We should be addressing the food that we're taking in and the imperfections in the food that we're taking in, and that's what's happening. On Facebook and YouTube, I have a lovely lady who's talking about GLP-1 agonists and is very adamant about it. And I'm very adamant about that. There is no one in my family or in my life that I would recommend those things to, especially they're also, yeah, well, that's great. So again, I invite you to go do your own life somewhere else. But I'm about done with you now because I'm dealing with people who want to do it naturally and not do the damage to liver, kidneys, thyroid that those drugs can do. It's in the PDR. So yeah, I've read the PDR. I understand what those are doing to people. And that's why we have things like the Ozempic lawsuits starting to come out now, because they're so great for you, right? They're so great for you. Okay, so, right, Ro? Go check the PDR for those medications and see what damage they can actually do to you. I feel bad for people who are like looking for a quick fix and willing to inject themselves with something that's forcing your body to do something your body is not meant to do. You got thyroid, fibro. Okay, so you have them now. Have you tried anything? Is this in response to the medications? I need more clarification, Suzette, on what you're talking about. So what we do, Suzette, yes. Okay. So we have to understand that insulin resistance is just that we're converting our energy, which is food, into glucose, that energy system, too quickly. So it's spiking our glucose, and then as a result, our body produces a hormone called insulin that then gets spiked, and eventually, when that's high for a long time, our cells in our body get resistant to it. That's how we end up with diabetes. Now, why we gain weight is when we have high levels of insulin and this energy flooding our system all the time, our body finally says, okay, nothing else wants to take the insulin up, so it starts putting it in our storage unit, or the what we call our fat cells. Now we start gaining weight. That's really where the weight comes from. So really what we need to do is slow down the food that's hitting our system. So just just, the GLP-1s addressing hunger, that's great. The person probably still is eating all the wrong things and it still is converting into sugar in their system too quick. And so now the GLP-1s are forcing them to produce more insulin, which is putting a load on the pancreas, causing the pancreas to get overstressed and diseased early. That sounds like a joy to me for some quick weight loss. Like, you guys think long term, think about your body long term and what's happening. So in order to help get those blood sugar levels down so that the insulin levels can come down, we do this. We have that, we do some intermittent fasting, okay? So I do normally a 16-8 fast. That means if I have dinner at 6 o'clock, I will wait 16 hours later. Well, guess what? If you don't do any snacking after dinner, you're gonna sleep most of that off. 6 o'clock the next morning, you've already made it 12 hours. 4 hours after that, that's about 10 in the morning. So somewhere between 10 and 12, you have your first meal. And instead of waking up and having cereal or oatmeal or pancakes or all of that stuff that's just gonna spike the insulin back up, we have a tea that allows us to utilize that state that we're in, where we're finally in a fat burning state where insulin has finally come down, hopefully, if you're not too insulin sensitive, and glucagon comes out and you're burning fat for fuel and you're starting to get rid of some junk cells, and all of that's starting to happen between really hours 14 and 16. Now, this doesn't break the fast, but it helps me feel satiated. It gives me mental clarity and energy. It gives me physical energy. I don't get crashes. It gets components through the brain needs to stop the anxiety and depression. GLP-1s don't do that, do they? Okay, so that tea in the morning helps me get through the fast. Then I have 2 meals a day in those remaining 8 hours. So I'll have a meal and I will precede it with this, which just mixes in some water. And then I drink it down 10 minutes before I eat, because I can't get in the right kind of fibers every time, every day, no matter where I'm at. This makes it easy for me. And then what that does is it gels up in your gut. It makes you feel fuller before you even start eating. So you're less likely to overeat, but it's fibers that are feeding your gut microbiome and not starving them or creating more negative gut microbiome. And then because it's sitting in the bottom of your gut in this thick gel matrix, when you do eat, all of that food drops into that gel matrix and slows down how quickly it hits your system, converts into energy, and is delivered into the system, thereby reducing the sugar spikes, reducing the insulin spikes, and allowing you to start to become more insulin sensitive. Plus, because it's slowing down the delivery, you stay fuller longer, okay? Let me see, I know there's a bunch of stuff. Okay, so Janice, side effect was weight loss. Yeah, was told last month, too much protein in your kidneys. So Suzette, let's talk about that, because I think, severe melasma. I had melasma really bad along the side of my face. I looked like a character from Star Trek, and I had rings around my neck. It's all gone. And I had the discoloration on my elbows. That's all gone. That was a sign of insulin resistance that just naturally went away. The GLP-1s don't do that for you, by the way. They don't allow your skin tags to fall off, because now they're increasing the amount of insulin in your system. Like, some people just, you couldn't make them see sense if you hit them upside the head with the skillet, right? How do you heal from mold and Lyme? Mold and Lyme is not my wheelhouse, not my baby. So I don't know. That's not where I deal with insulin resistance. Your A1C row was 14, and in 37 days it was 7.5. Now it's 5.9. That's amazing. Okay, I want to talk about the protein in the kidneys, and this is why I was talking about the double. Okay, I did a video yesterday, amazing video, and it got lost in the ethers. I was so mad. I did like 5 or 6 videos yesterday, and 2 or 3 of them never ever posted. I don't know what happened. 6 weeks into the program, yeah, so I threw all mine away within about that same time. So the tea in the morning, just go to my profile, tap on my profile picture, it will take you to my profile. In there is two red lights. Hey Melba. I get all excited about this. Like I get so sick of people being told to do damaging things to their body. Like you go ahead and pump all that stuff in, and then in 2 years from now, in 3 years from now, when you're having problems, remember that this crazy lady on TikTok said, "Don't do it," and then come find me because there will be no judgment. Okay, so yeah, I got rid of all my pharmaceuticals 6 weeks in. Yeah. How long was it before the dark elbows disappeared? Within 3 months. My skin tags and the dark elbows were gone within 3 months. And they were so bad, you guys, that it was like ring around my elbow all the way down to here, and all of this was dry and scaly. It would catch on my skin, it would catch on the seats. It was horrible. And I was scrubbing and I was using shea butter and coconut oil and all the stuff, and it just wasn't getting better because it was coming from the inside, not the outside. It's not that you're unclean or that you don't take care of your skin well enough or any of that. It's coming from the inside. And Suzette, I had like 10 different, so I say 10, that was for all the metabolic and all of that stuff. But then I also had Norco Hydro, gabapentin, and then just over-the-counter Tylenols that I would take for the pain I was in. Okay, so I got rid of more than 10 medications 2.5 years ago, and I haven't refilled a medication since, not one. And this was me when I started, and I had a walker and cane. This was the day I was donating my walker and cane. And you can't barely see it, but there's a disability plate on that car. So here I couldn't go up and down stairs. I was in pain. I wouldn't get off the couch because it just hurt to move. And now I'm back to working out, and I walk every day. And my walks went from light enjoy nature walks to power walks and circling, and like I'm on fire to get my life back. When I stopped taking meds, how long did it take for my numbers to lower? So it depends on what numbers you're talking about. I got mad because I obviously, let's be real, I do not like medications. I had 2 family members who worked for Big Pharma. I worked in doctor's offices, so the person saying all the stuff that's now gone, yes, I do understand. I was the person calling people about their medications. I was the person taking calls about the side effects and the things that were happening to them. So yeah. So my numbers in the first 3 months went from 7.4 down to 6.3. 3 months later, they were down to 5.6. The last time I had my labs drawn, they were at 5. My A1C was at 5.3. My triglycerides were in normal range, and my liver panels have come back down. But just because my liver panel has come back down doesn't mean that I feel like my liver is out of distress. So that's why I'm doing the extended fast of 36, because I really, at 59, with no gallbladder, and understanding that no gallbladder means I abused my liver, I want to take care of it. Lost your vision in your left eye due to diabetes. So, and do you understand, Suzette, that diabetes, and this is just because most people don't understand. So there's, again, no judgment here, unless you're trying to tell me to tell people to take medications. But insulin resistance comes first. So it goes like this: too much sugar in your blood, too much insulin in your body, then too. And then once you have that chronically high level or hyper insulinemia, it eventually becomes insulin resistance. Now, you could be insulin resistant for 14 to 20 years before it ever shows up as diabetes. So, and along the way, all of this stuff and even more than that is happening. Okay, so when it becomes, do you want me to explain how it goes from insulin resistance to diabetes? Because I'm scientific nerdy and I like to explain it. Suzette, if you go to my profile, there's a way to get a hold of me so we can continue the conversation. And so let's go over this briefly with insulin resistance. We know that when we have too much sugar in our body creates insulin, and insulin is a transport system, Suzette. There's a couple of things. I name insulin a lot of things, but let's say its primary thing is transport. To transport that sugar as energy to all the cells of the body. Okay, so we're eating, we're creating sugar in the cells, which means we have to have insulin to carry it because that sugar just doesn't go by itself. Now we have high levels of insulin. Now those high levels of insulin are happening too often, too much, and the cells start going like, I am sick of you and your drama insulin. I don't want to hear from you anymore. I took your delivery yesterday. I don't need it today. I'm done. Well, even when the cells could use the insulin, their receptors are just shut down. They're like, nope, not hearing from you anymore. So now insulin still has this has to carry this load of energy as glucose, and it's like, I gotta get rid of it because this person's eating more and there's more sugar coming in. I gotta get rid of this. So then what it does is it takes it to this energy storehouse in our body called our fat cells. It drops it in the fat cells. Now we start gaining weight. So you don't gain weight and then become insulin resistant. You have excess insulin and then you start gaining weight. Okay? So they've had it backwards all along. So now what we do is, now those fat cells are growing and growing and growing, but our fat cells, they're innately intelligent. They want to live and survive too. So they're blowing up, like, think about a water balloon. You start filling up a water balloon, at some point that water balloon is going to explode. That's what our fat cells are like. But our fat cells go, whoa, that's way too much. I can't take anymore. So just like a water balloon will spill that water out to not break, our fat cells do the same thing. Now that sugar that's supposed to be going into the fat cell is spilling back out into the bloodstream. Now our blood sugars are going up and our A1C is going up. Now we're not just insulin resistant, our sugar numbers are up enough that the doctor's going to diagnose you as pre-diabetic or diabetic. Does that make sense? That's how all that happens. So insulin resistance comes first, and then after you've been insulin resistant long enough and high enough, you start to become diabetic. So I was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. My whole health was failing. I really didn't feel like I was going to live to see 70, and I was terrified. I wasn't in a position to have set myself up, different life. But my blood pressure was out of control. I would wake up with my heart racing out of my chest at night, thinking I was going to die one night in my bed and my kids were going to have to find me, and that I wasn't going to be here as a grandmother for my grandchildren, or that I was going to be effective or viable or contribute to their life. And so that was how I lived, but not anymore. And I didn't, like my doctor, somebody asked about metformin, and I'm sorry I missed that. So metformin, out of all of those drugs, according to the specialist and even Dr. Bickman, is the one that they talk about the most. However, if you're like me, it causes so much nausea, diarrhea, and other things, I just couldn't tolerate it, nor did I want to put that in my body. So this acts like that. It helps reduce a blood sugar spike by 27%. And then if you do 2 packets before a meal, because you're having a high carbohydrate meal, it reduces the blood sugar spike by 28%. But the interesting thing is, 1 packet, although it was reducing the blood sugar by 27, it's reducing the insulin by 13. 2 reduces that insulin spike by 28%. That's huge. That means that we have a chance to become more insulin sensitive and stop this whole cycle that's happening in our bodies and causing us to be sick. So it doesn't take medications. Listen to doctors like Bickman and Fung. Mindy Pelz talks about it. Dr. Hyman talks about it. Dr. Lee, L.I. talks about it. Dr. Yao, who wrote the book Why Calories Don't Count, they all talk about it in different ways. Now, I was listening to a doctor the other day, and this comes back to the system I'm using, right? One thing, Dr. Fung wrote the obesity code, the diabetes code, the cancer code, and he has a clinic up in Toronto that specifically deals with diabetic patients, and he goes through these cycles of fasting and some of the things I'm talking about to help his patients reverse their diabetes without all the medications. That's where all this information is coming from, guys. It's not just me. It's all of these guys who are actually making change in the world and helping people become insulin sensitive, get their life back, get their weight under control, their depression and their anxiety, and all of those things under control. So, one of the doctors, and I'm sorry I can't quote him because, you know, when I'm not on here, I'm listening to stuff all the time and reading all the time. But this one doctor said this, and I got to go back to protein. So much to talk about. The one nutrient, can anybody tell me what they think it is? Like all of these nutrients that we have, the one nutrient that is not being served or talked about enough that's causing us to be sick more than anything, that's costing us our longevity, that's costing us to be in pain and have inflammation and all of this that's happening with us. Do you guys know what that nutrient is that nobody's really talking about, but it's the one thing that we could simply add to our day and change all of that? We could get 10 to 13 years of longevity back by adding it into our day. We could have less inflammation. We could have a lot of these things changing for us by adding that into our day. It's not magnesium, although magnesium and D3 are amazing for your metabolism and everything I'm talking about. So they're great support. And yes, I agree, but it's not the number one thing that we're missing. Fiber, Princess Rhonda, fiber. That's exactly it. So we are not getting enough fiber. And why is that? Because our foods have been modified. They've been changed. They're not the same as they used to be. Even when you're looking at raw organic foods, they're just not the same. So even if you're eating, like one of my favorites is a peach. A peach used to be the size of this, okay? This is what a peach used to be the size of. Now it's the size of your fist. When they were like this, they had a little sweetness. They were tart, they were crunchy, they were really nutritious, but we wanted something more juicy and delectable and desirable. And we have this thing for, bigger is better. And so the food industry said, people want bigger food. They want juicier food. We're going to strip out that fiber. We're going to make our foods as big as they are. Do you ever wonder why foods are twice the size of what they were 40 years ago? Because they've been modified. And in order to get them that size, they had to take out fiber to have that happen. And what happens in replace of fiber is it's filled with glucose or fructose to get it that big and juicy. So now we have something that used to be good for us and our bodies could recognize, and the fiber slowed down the delivery of those glucose to something that just converts into sugar too quickly in our system. So Suzette, that's an amazing question. It takes a variety of fibers. I want everybody to understand that just dumping loads of psyllium husk in your body is not going to work. Every fiber has a different action in your body. Some fibers are soluble, meaning they'll take up water. Some fibers are insoluble, meaning they don't like water and they're just going to pass through your system. So some fibers help you move the waste out of your system quickly, right? That's what those ones in the canister you get at Walgreens, Walmart, and those places are. They're helping your body. They're helping you poop, okay? But in order to address blood sugars, there are 3 types of fiber, you can Google it, that need to be available to you, and they help, scientifically have been proven to lower your blood glucose. So, because I don't want to hassle with figuring out all that stuff and making sure I have it every time I eat or go out to eat or go to my kids' house or whatever, I supplement. This has had over 20 years of studies. It's been out for almost 20 years. It's produced by a company that's been around since 1903. Tons of scientific studies on it, and it gives me all the specific fibers I need to reduce the blood sugars, to reduce the A1C, to help slow all of that delivery down into my system. That's what I use. So if you ask me what's the best fiber, I'm going to tell you this. We've had companies who, this whole system, by the way, these 3 things, okay? A tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat anything, 10 minutes before. This is about $5 a day, okay? So that is less than a Starbucks coffee. All right, so since you guys are asking, I'm gonna take a moment and show you how to find it. Before I do, I just wanna make this simple thing, okay? When you purchase through an authorized source, you get a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you have your labs done beforehand, and yes, you can buy it from my site, and that makes you authorized, and I'm gonna tell you that right now. So you get a 90-day money-back guarantee, you get a low price guarantee, you pay the same price for it as I do, and you get a quality guarantee. We triple test our products when it arrives, before we start processing it, during the processing, and before it ever goes out to you. If it doesn't have the components in it at the efficacy that we say, it never comes out to you. Now, when you buy through Amazon, Walmart, eBay, those people are not authorized distributors, so you don't get any of that, and you don't get coaching or contact with me. So with that, let's take a look at where to get it, okay? So where you're gonna get it is, I gotta drop this down real quick, and I gotta get everybody on Facebook and YouTube in there. Sorry you guys, today has just been a day of derailments, and I am okay with that. All right, so if you tap on my picture at the top of this live stream, right up here, okay, that's gonna bring up another box below, and when that comes up, tap it again, and it's gonna take you to my profile page. So when you get to my profile page, for those of you who don't know how to get there, this is what it's gonna look like. See the red lights right there? There's a link. Yours is gonna be black, mine looks red on the computer, right? You click on that link, and that's gonna take you to where to order. There's also directions in the first pinned video on my profile of how to do all of this. If you wanna go there when the live is over, that's fine. That's gonna then bring you to this page, the top button. We're gonna come back to some of these other things. This top button is gonna take you to where to order. Okay, remember I said about $5 a day. You wanna make sure it says Michelle Fay on it top. That's gonna connect you to me. You're gonna click on the buy now button. When I see that come through, then I start sending you texts, and I send you a video how to use it, and I send you emails with all the stuff, and I continually text you and check in and make sure you have what you need. So if you buy on Amazon, Walmart, eBay, you don't get that, all right? So this is it. The tea in the morning, the pre-meal drink before you eat anything. They both just mix in water. The tea you can have hot or cold. You can get it in lemon or lemon ginger. Ginger is strong in the lemon ginger. If you're not a ginger fan, stick with the lemon, okay? And then the pre-meal drink that you mix up and drink immediately, 10 minutes before you eat, is available in apple crush or in orange. Guys, apple crush is my favorite flavor. Orange is amazing. It tastes like an orange creamsicle, but apple crush is kind of like halfway between a red delicious and a granny apple, so it has a little bit of tartness, but not too much. I would get the apple crush because it's only available for a limited time. So they have it already highlighted in blue for what the best sales are right now. You can do it in a one-time purchase, which ends up being $159 a month for all 90 packets, or you can do the subscription, which saves you $5, plus you get free delivery, plus, so now you're saving about $15 a month, plus you get this free hand mixer the first time, and you get that bottle that I was showing you. You get all of that in your first package for free, okay? So that's how you order it. Now, when that happens, again, like I have people texting me still while we're on this live, because I was talking to some people before the live, but you have that access to me. If you're like, I'm having problems with A, B, C, or D, you text me and I answer you back. If I need to call you and go over, things and help you understand things more, I call you, okay? This is not a, you buy it and you never hear from Misha again, okay? If you want to interact with me, you do. If you don't, you don't have to, but I'm there for you every step of the way, okay? And so then I give you as much support as I can. Right now, I'm working on a cookbook. It may be less than it will be in the future, but I'm trying to work on some drinks that you can do. By the way, there's a number of things you can add to the tea in the morning to change up the flavor. And that's all going to be a gift to my customers on subscription, just to help you out. It's like, I'm not gonna cover all the spectrum, but just some simple, clean food that will help you along the way, that tastes great, that's accessible, not requiring you to go find some weird bread or flour or whatever. So I really am here to support you, because at the end of the day, guys, my goal is that nobody has to go through what I went through. All right? I was so sick and in so much pain that it was almost devastating. Like, I went from being world champion athlete to not being able to walk and having a walker and a cane, and having one of my doctors look at me and say, "Oh, how the mighty have fallen." Like, those of you who don't know me, I'm still a bit competitive. I've worked on it as I've gracefully aged. I like to say gracefully, but I used to be extremely competitive. And when that doctor said that, knowing that I'd won four gold medals at world championships, for him to look at me and say, "Oh, how the mighty have fallen," as I'm needing a walker and a cane, that made me mad. And I loved him. But like, I don't need to hear that shiz. I need to hear how I can get better. So why I'm here is because I worked in those offices. I worked with that doctor. I had doctors that I loved and adored who couldn't figure this out. And I don't want anybody else feeling like that. So we're here to help, so that you guys, like, I've lost 3 joints in a gallbladder and yada, 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 all this stuff that happened, right? I don't want anybody else to feel like that. And once I understood that what really is happening is this thing called insulin resistance, and had any doctor talk to me about that, I may not have had 2 hips replaced and a knee replaced. I may not have had my gallbladder yanked and now figuring out how to live without a gallbladder, because it's not as easy as, oh, it's an organ you don't need. It changes everything. So guys, I hope that I can help 1 person, 2 people. Actually, I want to help like thousands of people understand that you don't have to be like this. Because Suzette, when I found this, let's talk about that. When I found this, my doctor had me on metformin. I was on dual therapy for my blood pressure. We couldn't get it under control. Nobody could figure it out. I had edema. I had neuropathy. They couldn't figure out where this nerve damage was coming from. And and I just felt like I was in tears all the time, and I had anxiety and depression and panic attacks, and I had brain fog and the whole shebang. So when doctors couldn't help me, and I felt like my life was literally, people, Suzette, you might understand it, but a lot of people don't. Like, I felt like my life was ending. That wasn't Misha's being dramatic. That was like everything in my body, everything in my labs, everything in every test was telling me that I was dying. And I was too young for that, right? So when my back was against the wall like that, I found this protocol right here on TikTok, as it would be 2.5 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? There's a guarantee, there's support. And what happens? If I do it for 90 days and I'm not happy with it, I get my money back, but it didn't cause damage to my body. So what the hell? Nothing else has worked. I'm going to try it. That's where my mind was. I wasn't like, hoorah! Like, I believe. I was like, I got to do something. Okay? And I was a skeptic. A month out, I got a call, and it was like, how's it going? What's happening? Now, granted, my blood pressure was coming down, my skin tags were going away, my inflammation was going away, my pain was going down, but I was focused on the fact that I had not lost any weight. So I was mad. Like, I haven't lost any weight. This is some BS. I told you I needed to lose some weight. Yeah, that was me. Okay? And I got reminded to go check my measurements. By the way, you get an email from me that tells you this. I want you to write down every single thing, Suzette, that you have been suffering from, and your weight, your measurements, all of that. And then as you're on the system, you're going to tick off, because I didn't do that. Nobody told me that, But this is a partial list of the things that I was suffering with when I started that have all gotten better by doing this simple protocol. Because in the end, it was never about all of these things that the doctors were chasing. It was about that one thing. That one thing caused all of this. So that's where that's at. Like I said, 2 years ago with that walker and cane, I couldn't go up and down stairs. I literally, if there was stairs, I had to have two rails because I would use my upper body strength to pull me up. My lower body was in so much pain. My feet were swollen. My feet hurt to stand on. I couldn't wear normal size shoes. I couldn't wear regular athletic socks. I had to buy diabetic foot socks. It was insane. Now, this last summer, I ran up and down a flight of stairs. I go up and down stairs every time I go to my grandson's house. He just lives 9 miles away from here. It's a whole different life. Now, like you know what I did with him this weekend? We had a sword fight. And a sword fight means, like, he's 7, cutting me off at the knees with a Nerf sword. But we're chasing around the island in my house, and I had to stop him because he has a disorder. And his legs were getting wobbly, and I didn't want him to fall and crack his head open, so I'd have to, like, tell him to stop. He's a little competitive and stubborn like his Nana. And then when I felt like it was enough time, we would get up and sword fight again. Yeah. I would have been 2 years ago. I wouldn't have been able to chase him around the island. Like, and he's getting faster, so it's no longer like a brisk walk. But I wouldn't have been able to do it 2 years ago. And he gets me to go up and down on the slides in the parks with him. It's not as comfortable as it was at 35, but I can still do it. And I'm not, like, 2 years ago it would have been, nope, not going up there. I love you, buddy, but I'm not going up there. Like, I am a big, big, big kid. Vertigo, that's another great one, okay? So vertigo does happen. Inflammation can happen in your body because of this whole thing called insulin resistance. And part of what happens is it causes some excess fluid in your inner ear and some inflammation in there that causes vertigo. So, before I started the system, one of the things, well, actually right as I started the system, before I got completely better, I was driving for Lyft and Uber to make a living because I couldn't be on my feet anymore. I couldn't work in doctor's offices anymore. And I had a vertigo episode. It was not driving somebody. It was simply going the quarter of a mile from my house to the grocery store to get some cough syrup. And I had a vertigo episode and I got in an accident. And then I couldn't drive for Lyft and Uber anymore. I had vertigo constantly. Like, even when I was driving, there would be times when I just have to shut the app off and pull over because I felt like somebody had poured my head half full of water and then shook it up. And then I'm left with the remnants of that. So, Suzette, here's the other thing is I don't talk about this part very often, but there's every opportunity for you to change your life in that way too. If you decide that the system is as amazing as I think it is, and you want to find a way to have a better life with your financial and time freedom, there's that opportunity too. And we've been helping a number of people. So can I talk about that real quick for everybody? Can I talk about that, not just about how I got my health back, but look, even if you just want to get your health back and you feel like I want to share this with my family and friends, we have a great referral program that allows you to get $10 back every time one of your family or friends purchases. So now 5 of those, and you've knocked $50 off of your bill for the month. But if you want to take it further, like I did, I've been able to 5x my income from when I was driving for Lyft and Uber, move myself all the way across the country, from Washington State to Maryland to be with this amazing little grandson. Live in the amazing spot I'm in, and that whole story is a whole other story. We're going to be starting to talk about that hopefully next week. But yeah, if you want to have conversation about that, Suzanne, I'm open to that too. Because when you're this way, it hurts, right? It's like my kids would be like, Mom, why don't you just get a regular job? And I'm like, at that point in time, I was like, well, because I wake up so much in pain sometimes that I can't even see straight. How am I going to get up and go to a doctor's office or to any office or, be on my feet all day when I can hardly walk if I don't know if I'm going to even be able, and who's going to put up with that? Yeah. So that's a great opportunity for you, Suzette, not only to change your health, your family's health, but then create a future for yourself that gives you some freedom too. That's exactly what I found. Dahlia, I was diagnosed as diabetic at the last of my 55th year of life, right? And then all through my 56th year, it was getting worse and worse and worse. When I turned for 57, I found this system. I was able to throw away all of my medications. About a month in, I was like, I'm sick of this. I don't like medications. I'm getting rid of them. And I let the system do its thing. And now I haven't refilled any of those medications in over 2 years. And my diabetes is reversed. So when they say that it's long-term, chronic, and progressive, that's some bullshit. Let's just flat out call a duck a duck. It's some bullshit. This is caused by dietary disorders. So if we understand how we've been sold down the river by a food industry that's just trying to get us to eat more, and we can start to reverse that and take control of our life, then we don't have to live like this. Your numbers go back to normal. You lose skin tags, you lose skin discoloration. My eyesight, so will I ever go back to the eyesight I had at 30? Well, I'm almost 60. That's probably not going to happen either. But my readers, I was up to like a 3.0 diopter in my readers. These are a 1.75. I've reversed about 10 years of damage off of my eyes. My hair was falling out all along here. This was balding. I still have some little pieces here that are all new growth. Since I started the system, this was balding back this way, and all of that's come back. My hair is thicker, fuller, longer than it has ever been in my life. Yeah, so that's the problem, Suzette. And people don't understand that. I'll have people say, well, just go vegan. Well, if you understand that our food has been modified, even I've had vegans and pescatarians use the system and feel better, drop the last 10 or 20 pounds they had to lose inflammation and all of those things, even though they're eating clean, right? So melasma and skin tags, let's deal with that. Listening and working. Tiffany and so Sarah and Tiffany, I'm going to tell you what the system is. Sarah, I'm going to tell you why it works on skin tags, okay? So the system, because we're addressing a dietary disorder, right? We're addressing the fact that our food is imperfect and that even when we're trying to be perfect, it's almost impossible. So what's really happened is they've stripped nutrients and fiber out of our food, okay? So what I do now, and you guys, when I talk about intermittent fasting, I know I'm crazy on fasting right now. 2.5 years ago, my son was talking to me about intermittent fasting, and I was like, yeah, son, it sounds great. Sounds like it would work fine. But I couldn't do it. I was so food addicted, my energy levels would drop, all of that was happening. I couldn't do intermittent fasting. Does anybody else here feel like that? When I talk about intermittent fasting, you go like, oh, nope, can't do that, not me, not today. That was me. So what we're doing, Tiffany and Sarah, is I'm doing a tea in the morning. I do some intermittent fasting. Yeah, Suzette, I felt trapped too. So this tea, it's a single source of tea from Argentina. I'm going to go over this really quick. It's hand harvested. It's never machine harvested. We then take it through a process that allows those components that we need to get to you for your metabolism and your mental well-being to release from the bulk of the plant so that we can get it extracted and concentrated. 375 cups of this one tea in this packet that you just mix in water. So that's what I'm drinking right now. It doesn't keep me awake at night. It doesn't break my fast. It doesn't spike my insulin. In fact, what it does is it helps you produce your own ketones, so you're burning more fat for fuel. So the energy you feel from this is more from the fat that you're burning and that clean energy you're getting from your body than anything else. So it allows me to feel full, satiated, energetic, with mental clarity during those few hours of fasting until I get to the 16th hour. Then I have a pre-meal drink that adds in 7 different, yes, they can be. Hopefully you'll come off the Manjaro by doing this. I've had a number of people who said Manjaro wasn't working for them, or they were starting to have other problems, or they just didn't like the fact that they were doing that. And absolutely, it's in the PDR, but it doesn't interact with any medications. So it doesn't matter what medications you're on, you can do this, okay? It's food. So, but it's food with enough science behind it that it's in the prescriber's digital reference, and it can be prescribed by your doctor. Some insurances are covering it because it's prescribable. So this is not a tea, it's a multi-source of fibers, vitamins, minerals, and plant sterols that help with healthy heart rate, cholesterol absorption, the slowing down of delivery of fats and sugars into your system, helping you feel full before you eat, helping you stay full long after you eat because it's slowing down that delivery. And in that, it's reducing that insulin spike and allowing your body to start being more normal. So we don't do snacking. I will help you with understanding what types of foods to eat. You're not changing your diet drastically. There's 6 simple principles. I have a free ebook that goes over those. You fit it to your lifestyle and how you like to eat. There have been, I don't know what ones cover it. You have to get it written by your, you get the, let me slow down. You get the prescription from your doctor, you take the insurance and the prescription to your insurance, and they reimburse it. They don't cover it up front, it's a reimbursement, but we've had a number of people doing it. We have a doctor, Dr. Ahmed in Wisconsin, who's a cardiologist who used it himself. And once he started to realize how great it really worked for him as a cardiologist, he now prescribes it to every single patient that comes in his clinic. We have other cardiologists who are using it now. We have endocrinologists who are prescribing it as well. Neurologists, we have several. I don't know them all personally, but I'm there at the meetings when they come in and talk to us about all of this. And so endocrinologists, neurologists, cardiologists, and oncologists. We have some people who were told that they're only alive today because they were doing the system, and the system was allowed them to reduce inflammation in their body, and it wouldn't, I'm not saying that it's going to cure cancer, right? I'm saying that it's giving your body a fighting chance. That's what it does. Okay, so with all of these things, they're all linked to insulin resistance, and if you can reverse the insulin resistance and positively impact all the things that happen in your body as a result, then is it worth 90 days to try it? That's the question. And for $5 a day, guys, look it, I get it. When I started, again, I drove for Lyft and Uber. I was in pain, limited income, single grandma, too damn stubborn to share a place with somebody, for them to share a place with me. So I had a very limited income, very limited. But I just knew that if I didn't change something, I wasn't going to be able to be here to be with my grandkids and my kids, and I didn't want to put any of them through that stress. It really was at that point. And so I said, I'm going to try it. Again, 90-day money-back guarantee. If it doesn't work and it's just plant foods, then, and by the way, it is gluten-free and it is halal, so it is all plant-based. I was like, what the hell else do I have to lose? I've tried everything else. And it worked. It worked, because here I am. 2 years later, this was me when I started. This is me now. I feel better than I have in years. And I actually wish I would have known about the system when I was competing. We do have athletes using it now because they're realizing how it helps increase their muscle naturally and reduce their fat and get all of their other markers in control as far as metabolic health goes. So yeah, it sounds like a miracle, but I mean, in some respects, maybe it is, because nobody talks about it, right? We don't get the simple answers. We get the, oh, go inject yourself with Manjaro, oh, go take those GLP-1s that are going to damage your body, oh, go do all of that stuff. Instead, we're just really addressing the fact that we've been lied to. Our food is not what it's supposed to be. More and more doctors, I hear more and more doctors when I'm listening to all these podcasts and stuff by physicians who say our food is not what our bodies expect it to be. Our bodies don't know what to do with the food we're getting, and so now we're getting sick. All of this stuff, and this is a short list. All of these things I suffered with, including high blood pressure and even more, and all of that has gotten better for me. Okay? Even though I've had my gallbladder out, somebody else said they had their gallbladder out, and I'm sorry I missed you. I meant to respond to that. But those of you who don't know, when you damage your liver so bad that your gallbladder has to get yanked because it's full of stones, there's problems. Now when your gallbladder gets taken out, you start having problems with female hormones, you start having problems with thyroid hormones or how they're taken up in your body, you start having problems with excess weight. A lot of women are told by their physicians to have their gallbladder yanked when they're in pregnancy. You're slightly, as a natural process of being a human being that carries another human being, when you're pregnant, you're naturally slightly insulin resistant. So you don't need to have that gallbladder yanked. Most of us don't. It's a quick jump to something that can cause you long-term implications. Why do I know? About a year after my gallbladder got yanked, I was in so much pain. I'm doing the system. Every other one of my markers are great, but I'm starting to have this weird stabbing pain in my belly, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I started on this journey of understanding more a little bit about that, and understanding that the gastritis that came from having the gallbladder yanked is causing problems, and it causes your body to go through this whole thing where it actually exacerbates this whole insulin resistance thing. So if you have your gallbladder yanked, it means that you're going to have to fight against insulin resistance more than somebody who still has their gallbladder intact. Yeah, under your left side of your rib, that's your liver. So Suzette, and here's the thing. By addressing the insulin resistance, so there's a number of things going on with the liver. How many of you guys drink fruit juice and have been told fruit juice is healthy for you? And Jenny, you're just going to go to my profile, tap on the picture up there. When you get to my profile, you'll see some red lights. Click on that link, and that will take you to my page where you can order the system. When I see that come through, then I will send you out texts and you'll start to get to communicate with me. Here's what I tell my people. If I don't want to talk to people because I'm going to bed, I shut my phone off. Send me the texts anyway, so that when I wake up in the morning, I understand what your needs are and I can start contacting you and reaching out to you and helping you as soon as I'm up and ready. Okay? So stones in your gallbladder. So I'm not the expert on how to remove them. I would encourage you to take a look at, depending on how bad your stones are, I would take a look at all the stuff on Google and online from reputable sources about how to start to reverse those. Now, if you want to stop creating those, this is so much. Guys, so much rambling around in my head, and I wish I could just go like transmute it all. All right, I'm going to deal with the gallbladder really fast here. One of the things that's happening, besides sludge that's happening in your gallbladder, is you have this nerve problem throughout your body. That's why we get edema, not edema, but the neuropathy. So you start to have this inability of your muscles to function properly. All of your organs are muscle tissue, different than skeletal tissue, but it means your gallbladder can no longer contract and get some of that bile out, so it starts building up and creating those. So getting insulin resistance under control is one of the first steps, but yes, you can naturally help those. Almost a grab machine whilst you're unconscious. Yes, depending on how many are in there, they can crush and help you pass those stones too. I would do some research on that. Honestly, guys, I can't tell you what to do. I would be very careful and do every bit of research you can on alternative ways to deal with the gallbladder before you let them take it. Okay, so let's go over that again because Tiffany's asking, and Tiffany, thank you for that question. So I'm going to show you right now, okay? So you're going to click on my picture up above. There's this thing right up at the top of the live stream is my picture. Tap on that, it will bring up another box. When you tap on that box, it's going to bring up my profile, and it's going to look a little something like this. Oof. Okay, so you'll see my picture up there, and then right under it you'll see the red lights. So right under the red lights is that link. Click on that link, and that's going to take you to my landing page. The very top one is where you're going to click to order. Okay, so click on that. That will open up the order page. You should see my name right up top there, or you're not in the right place. And if you want me to coach you and help you, then you need to make sure my name is up there, and then you're just going to click on that big buy now button. When you click on that, it will take you to the page where you order. So you get to choose between two flavors of the Unimate right now, which is lemon or lemon ginger. Again, you can have it hot or cold. I am going to be sending out some recipe suggestions of things that don't break your fast that will help you switch that up and help with your metabolism even more. And then the balance, which is the pre-meal drink. So you're getting 30 tea, 60 balance, and you get to choose between apple crush or orange for the balance. So lemon or lemon ginger, and the blue line means it's already pre-selected. I would leave it there on all the pre-selections. Our monthly subscription, guys, is not you're locked in for 90 days. You can cancel it at any time. You see that right there? You can cancel it anytime, but it's going to save you $5 off. It's going to make sure you don't run out. You're going to get free delivery, so that's about another $10. You're saving about $15 off by doing it, and you get that free hand mixer that helps you with mixing up. I use it for my tea. I just shake my pre-meal drink in the bottle they send, and that's it. The other amazing thing is this. When they ship it out to you and you do it on subscription, so you've saved $15, you get a month in and you're like, this isn't really for me, and you cancel it, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Or you get a month in and you're like, oof, my paycheck doesn't come through in time, I need to change that date, or I want to try the orange this month. You can change all of that. They send you an email 5 days before it ever processes so that you have the chance to do all of that. Ray. Yeah, I'm gonna get to you, Ray. Mom Circus. I am so mad that I was at a point where I just felt so vulnerable that I let them take my gallbladder. It did take about a year because I think it's because of the system that it took about a year for it to really start to show up the pain and the problems. And then I had to spend the last 6 or 7 months like figuring out, because again, I wasn't getting answers, how to deal with this. So on that landing page, by the way, there is my recommendations. So I do use some bile salts and some digestive enzymes. If you've had your gallbladder out, I would suggest doing that. Okay, now Ray, my blood pressure was about 180 over 150 every single day before I started the system. I didn't realize that this was going to help that. Why is this not going down? There. I started the system for diabetes and hopefully to lose weight. As a result, my blood pressure got better. I was on dual therapy for my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is now normalized. Okay, at 59, I still weigh in at a little over 200, right? Those two factors, having worked in medical, I would expect my blood pressure to be 130 over 80 or higher. My blood pressure every single morning, 2 years after throwing away all of my medication, is 112 over 74 every single morning. I've never had a reading in the last year where it's 130 over 80 or higher. And all I did was this. So 95% of high blood pressure comes from insulin resistance. That's not me. That's coming from metabolic scientists and doctors like Fung and Bickman. By the way, the link to this book, you guys, I don't get paid for those. They're just, that recommendations page is just a way for everybody to find the stuff that I talk about easier. So Dr. Bickman talks about this, that insulin resistance is highly linked to blood pressure. I've done a series of videos on it, so let's talk about blood pressure, if we will, why that happens. When you have insulin resistance, there's about 5 ways that insulin resistance is causing your high blood pressure. One of the favorite ones that I talk about is this. When we're insulin resistant, I talk about how the cells are like, whoa, back off, I don't want any more of you. But there are some cells, and I like to think of it like this. These cells like the drama, right? So they're taking up too much of it. And that means that they're overproducing. So that's skin tags and acanthosis nigricans, or dark skin patches, and the endothelium inside of the blood vessels. So Ray, you're on it for 3 weeks, okay? What was your blood pressure before you started the system? And how long was it high before you started the system? So if you don't mind, I'm going to explain some of the actions that happen in your body when you're insulin resistant. And I want you to understand that now, when you're on the system, your body's starting to clean up. But for me, my blood pressure started going high in my late 20s. Did I think that my blood pressure from my late 20s to my late 50s, 30 years of high blood pressure, did I expect it to change drastically in 3 weeks? Okay. So you didn't take it, but it was likely high, right? So it took about a year for my blood pressure to start to normalize, because I had to reverse all of these actions. So that number one thing I was talking about, you have an innermost layer in your blood vessels. You have several layers in them. The innermost layer is called the endothelium. In the presence of insulin resistance, that endothelium is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. So now a space that's like this becomes a space that's like this, and there's less space for that. Hey Dan, good to see you back. So now there's less space for that volume of blood to push through. Well, if you've thickened those cells over years of time, how soon would you think that those cells are going to start to thin out? It's going to take a minute. Okay? This is why we talk about a 90-day money-back guarantee, because we understand this is a natural system and you've got to give your body time. Okay? Time. There's nothing in the system that's going to increase your blood pressure. In fact, the tea, even though it has a small amount of caffeine in it, less than a cup of coffee, I want to talk about that too. There's 3 things in this that are naturally occurring in this plant. So the locals who harvest this, they don't call it caffeine, they call it morphine, because there's 3 components called adaptogens that are attached to the caffeine molecule that make it different than the caffeine you're used to from like Red Bull and coffee. So those 3 things are theobromine, chlorogenic acids, and oh my god, I haven't talked about it for long enough that I'm forgetting the 3rd one. I'll remember it in a minute. But these 3 things help balance out how caffeine acts in your body, so you get energy, but it's not this stress on your heart, okay? And it's not raising your cortisol. Yeah, give it time, Ray, and make sure you're reaching out to your coach so that you're getting the help you need. You guys, while we're talking about blood pressure, totally left field, but I was thinking about salt and yada, yada, yada. So one of the ways that insulin resistance is causing your high blood pressure is because your kidneys are not able to get rid of salt as easily, and so it's retaining it and it's increasing the volume in your blood by increasing the water in your blood. However, you guys, once you get your blood pressure under control, you don't have to regulate your salt intake. I was just listening to some doctors talk yesterday about the fact that there are studies that have been done that people who regulate or downregulate their salt intake actually have a higher level of insulin resistance because it messes with how your body reacts. So everything, I'm going to say this, everything is about balance, okay? So I never measure or meter my salt, and my blood pressure is well maintained now. I'm 2 years on the system. It did take about a year for that to normalize. Had to let all of the damaging things, the cholesterol buildup, the thickened cells in my body, the cortisol that gets created, all of that normalize out. So that's one other thing that happens. In the state of insulin resistance, your body's constantly under stress. So you know that fight or flight response that you have that's like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta run from that tiger or whatever? Your body's continually slightly in that state when you're insulin resistant. So now your heart is continually pumping a little bit faster than it's supposed to. And that's creating even more pressure in there in this space that's thinned out from the endothelium being too thick, and the space that's thinned out now because also nitric oxide in the system isn't produced, and nitric oxide helps those blood vessels relax so that volume can go through. That's not happening. So now you have tight, stiff little blood vessels with a lot of volume and a heart that's racing faster to push it through, and now you have high blood pressure. And all of that comes from insulin resistance. So just give it time and it does get better. So I hope that answers some questions for you guys. And all of these things, it messes with your collagen production, so you start to have wrinkling and loose skin. It messes, the inflammation can cause osteoarthritis, where it's eating up and messing with the joint tissues you have. It causes inflammation in your synovial fluid, which can actually damage the joints. So many things. It causes you can, one thing, interesting thing that I just learned is that even heavier people like myself, we may have thicker bones, but the density of the bone is more fragile. So I may have bigger bones because I naturally carry around a little more weight than somebody who's 130 pounds, but my bones could be actually more fragile because of the insulin resistance. So a bigger bone can still break easier in the process of insulin resistance because they're not getting up the energy they need to form healthily. And when we come to protein and muscle, in the presence of insulin resistance, it means your muscle tissue is not taking up energy also. So now you're not having lean amounts of muscle on your body. Instead, you're having fat. So one of the reasons people say I haven't lost any weight yet, which was me, was kind of bitchy about it. Look, so I probably had, even though I was a power lifter, I probably had less muscle than I should have had on my body because of insulin resistance. When you start to become insulin sensitive, you start to naturally build more muscle on your body as you're losing the fat. So muscle weighs more per volume than fat. So as though that volume of fat is going down and the muscle volume is going up, now my weight's not changing, but my size is changing, right? At some point that muscle volume starts to level out and you're just dropping the fat and you start to see weight loss. So there's that. Protein. If we're getting in, protein is a balance, guys. Don't let anybody tell you to take in too much protein. I'm still doing that video today on protein intake. So I think about 30 to 40 grams per sitting, according to doctors that I've been listening to, is about optimal, okay? Any more than that and your body really isn't using it. Does anybody want to know what happens to the excess protein beyond that when you take it in? What really goes on? Because it's way different than you think. So, thank you, Suzette. So when you're taking in excess protein, and I'm going to go over how I ate yesterday, and this leads into that. As I'm learning, I'm trying stuff out on myself so I can help you guys out even more. But look, So 30 to 40 grams. My daughter's taking a nutrition class and they're talking about that you need closer to 30 grams for your body to actually do something with the protein, right? So just 10 grams might not be doing you any good, but like say 24 to 40 grams, you're gonna start to be able to utilize the protein. Now, in excess of what your body can utilize, you start to poop or pee it out. So when somebody has protein in their urine, there's a function where your kidneys can't, your liver's not translating, your body's not metabolizing the protein. Now it's being forced out through your urine. And insulin resistance can cause that. So you're going to eliminate a bunch of it, which is going to put a load on your kidneys, right? Because now they've got to filter that out. Long term, pushing that excess protein out can start to cause high protein in your urine. Yep. So now the other thing that happens, so we're either utilizing it for building blocks to repair and build tissue, we're getting rid of it because it's not necessary, or we're converting it into a future energy source. What do we know about a future energy source? That future energy source is fat. So you're either using it, you're excreting it, or you're storing it as fat. When you're excreting it, you're putting an excess load on your kidneys. So does anybody here feel like they need to take in more protein than 30 to 40 grams in a sitting? Please say no. Unless you're like Ronnie Coleman or somebody who's like doing tremendous amounts of weightlifting and whatnot, right? It's about balance. Is 10 grams enough? No. Is more than 40 maybe too much? Probably. Okay. So I aim to get in 60 to 80 grams of carbohydrates a day, which means about 30 grams a sitting. So yesterday, because I'm doing this intermittent fast of every other day, I decided to try this out. Whew, it was rough for me because I'm used to eating twice a day. But on this 12-hour day, it's more, I can eat more as I will. Still no snacking, but understanding that we cycle through that protein about every 3 to 4 hours, and that I can only get 30 to 40 in a sitting. What I did yesterday to see how it felt was I woke up and had a shake that I made at home that had high protein, about 30 grams of protein. I think it had about 30 grams of fat and less than 10 grams of carbohydrate. That's how I broke my fast yesterday. I waited 4 hours and then I had 2 eggs and a sausage, protein and fats. Then I waited 4 hours and I had another one of those shakes, a little less heavy on the fats and still around 30 grams of protein. And then I waited 4 hours and I had my unrestricted dinner with my family. Holy cats, was I full. Like it really wasn't, when you look at it, it really wasn't a ton of food, but I was full. But I was cycling to get in protein evenly throughout the day because I'm doing this 36-hour fast. So I wanted my body to have the opportunity to uptake the protein and utilize it, which meant that I stayed more active yesterday, so my muscles were open to taking that in. I hope that helps a little bit. You guys, I do have to get ready for another meeting this evening. I'm going to update on today's fasting because I'm back on a fasting day. I'll talk a little bit more about yesterday. Interesting thing, no, Suzette, no what? No what? Tell me what no means, because I forget what I just said. Yesterday, I had stopped because I was close. There's a really great little cupcake place in town. I know my daughter-in-law loves them, so I stopped. I'll be back at 8:30 in the morning, I promise. But so I stopped at this cupcakery and got cupcakes for dessert for dinner because, you know, that's part of the goal of this thing that I'm doing. Should I do it all the time? No. But we got done with dinner. We had tikka masala, we had palak shot, we had some naan with dinner. But again, I didn't worry about it because of this, okay? But when everybody sat down to have their cupcake about an hour later for dinner, I really wasn't even hungry for it. I didn't want it. Do you know what I wanted? I wanted that spinach dish. And that's what I had for my dessert. No cupcake. And it wasn't because I was trying to just like yes and no. It wasn't because I was consciously, oh, I want to eat better. I'm gonna force myself to eat this and deprive myself of that. I really truly craved that spinach dish more than I wanted or needed a cupcake. So I left it with my family. Like, have mine, I don't want it. So your body does start to change, your cravings do start to change. Here's the thing for me with the system. The way I like to do this is I like people to take it where you're at. Make it as sustainable and easy for you to step into this as possible. Let's think about this journey back to health like a ladder. If you're standing on the ground floor and you want to get to the roof, or say we're standing in a pit, that's a better one. We're stuck down in a pit and we want to get back up out of that pit that we're in, right? And somebody puts a ladder down there. Are you going to jump from the bottom of the pit to the top? No. You're going to start to climb that ladder a rung at a time. What I love with the system is it allows you to start where you're at, start protecting your body and making the changes you need so you can go a rung at a time as you're building your health. And finally, one day you're at the top of that ladder, you're back on clear ground and sunshine out of the pit, and you're like, whoa, that wasn't hard. How did I get here? That was actually pretty easy and it wasn't painful. And I never felt like a failure, and I never felt like there was something wrong with me. Okay? That's how I want you guys to do it. So Suzette, everybody, thank you. Melba, Dan, I will see you guys, Janice, in the morning. I'll be back at 8:30. I do go live every morning, 8:30, from Monday to Friday. Saturday, this is my gig. I take time with my family. If there's nothing going on with the family and I can hop on, I will. But from my heart, I hope that you guys take that time with your families as well. Unplug. Give your families and your loved ones the time that they deserve and need from you, and really start to enjoy life again. We're plugged in way too much. Thank you, Janice. I will go look for that email. All right, you guys, we'll see you at 8:30 in the morning. Suzette, Tiff, I will look for those, and when I see those come through, I'll text you and let's go. I'm excited. Suzette, it sounds like you're so much like me. I'm excited to help you get there. Okay, perfect. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.